Should we go ahead and start the show?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
Let's go ahead and start the show. Hey, welcome to Prepper Talk Radio on K-Talk Radio. It's good to be back. It's good to be here. I'm excited.
It's always good to be here.
Man, the weather's changing.
Oh, I love it.
Can I just
I
tell
think
you,
I think I love it.
my favorite seasons are spring and fall.
Amen.
I like summer. Well,
Yeah, I don't know if I like summer. I
Summer's
like summer because you
okay.
can grow your crops, you can grow some food, but still, it's just, I don't know.
it's just,
And then winter, I used to like winter a lot more than I do now. I guess it's the old bones. I'm not too fond of the cold anymore, and I'm still not fond of the heat. So, yeah, give me spring and fall.
yeah. Dude, our intro music is still going.
Yeah, I know, it's extra long for some reason.
I know. I feel like someone's pranking us. So
You
we're
can
gonna
always
just turn it off.
Yeah, just turn it.
All right, so the weather's changing. One of my favorite seasons is hitting.
Yes.
I'm like you, winter's okay. It's used to be awesome, but now that I'm like,
I stopped mowing the lawn, and I'm always look forward to, okay, great, this is the last time I get to mow the lawn and get the leaves up, and then I got to start shoveling snow.
yeah.
So it's good exercise, but yeah, it gets old. Just like mowing the lawn gets old.
So today we're going to be talking about things that get old. No, I'm just kidding. Today we're going to talk a little bit about seasonal change, preparedness, kind of the mindset of what you need to be doing right now.
Yeah, I wanted to bring something up first, which may throw...
Are you going to use yourself or your political double to bring this up?
This is myself.
Okay.
Myself.
There's a
So,
Hillary comment.
as I'm driving in this morning, listening to Paul, and so got the radio. I'm not using the app. I'm on the radio. And as you know, with K-Talk AM 630, whenever you drive by power lines, you get some interference, right?
Mhm.
And so I'm driving down the freeway, which, I come from the south. Scott comes down from the north. Coming up from Utah Valley, traffic is horrible, pretty much crawling the entire way. And I come to a point, and the signal is pretty much cut off. And I realize I'm next to a FedEx truck, a tandem, so double pulley, double trailer FedEx truck. It's completely cutting off my signal. I have no reception, which I thought was strange because I've never noticed that before. And so there were a lot of semis this morning, so I pulled up again next to some other tandem pulling trucks. Didn't interfere with the signal. So, as a prepper and as an awake person, what is going down our freeways? What in the heck could be in that FedEx truck? And then, of course, I see all these shipping containers on trucks, and what is going down our freeways? And, no labels, nothing in particular that would set me off or let me know what's in that truck. And so, your thoughts, your comments.
So I know that the FedEx does have more radios, and they have a GPS tracking system,
Mm-hmm.
so they can track and monitor.
But I pulled
real
up.
time
There
everything.
were other FedEx truck pulling tandem that I drove up against. Little to no interference
Really?
on those trucks. But this one
that
truck in
one-
particular cut my signal off completely. I could not hear K-Talk at all. Very strange.
So did the FedEx driver have a bulge on the right hip or left hip?
I could not tell.
Did he have an earpiece in that made him look like
He was wearing all black.
wearing all black?
No, I don't know.
All right.
I do not
Did
know.
he have aliens in the back? Are we talking Men in Black
dark,
now?
Exactly. Men in black. He's wearing
Nice
dark glasses, wearing black suit
That's awesome.
in a FedEx truck. So
That's interesting. You bring up that point though. I mean, there's a lot of things that you wonder. Okay, what's really going on? I've got a friend that lives in southern Idaho, and a few months back, oh man, it's probably been longer than that. He was watching, and all of a sudden he had like 4 trains of
Mhm.
military equipment go through. And you're like,
Mhm.
why are they going through Idaho? Like, what the heck's up
Mhm.
there?
Yeah, I think I saw one of those down here going through Utah, heading
Mhm.
that way. So yeah, a bunch of armored vehicles. Didn't even recognize them.
So I mean, if you're not paying attention, you just see train.
Mhm.
But if you're paying attention, you see train with Humvees and
Mhm.
tanks and armored personnel carriers, and you're like, what? Where are they going?
Yeah, field dark earth, desert tan type colored
Mhm.
vehicles that were meant for the sandbox, right, for out in Iran, Iraq, and so forth. And they're here in Utah, Idaho. So yeah, that kind of goes back to our conversation last week of the prepping mindset, of the survival mindset. Where's your mind at? You're driving down the freeway, we're listening to K-Talk, or listening to some music. Are you aware of what your surroundings, the vehicles around you? I mean, that's I guess my point for bringing that up this morning is, and one thing I realized, I was going to make an announcement this morning saying, Scott, I've been diagnosed with a terminal disease, terminal illness. You know what that is? It's the freaking prepping mindset is what it is. I honestly, I can't get enough of it. I want to do this all day, every day, and unfortunately I can't. But so it kind of drives me a little crazy, but my mind is always there looking for, and you just realize everything you don't have, all those things that you need to be more prepared and more self-reliant you become hyper-aware. I guess that's maybe the right way to say it.
So there's the hyper-aware, but then there's also the sickness level where you're just obsessive.
Right.
Are you obsessive, or are you just
No,
hyper-aware?
I'm not obsessive. I don't feel anxiety or anything like that. And need I feel urgency, which I think is a good thing. And I don't think necessarily anxiety is a bad thing either. It helps to drive you. Obviously, there are unhealthy levels of anxiety, but I feel an urgency. Okay. And so I hope that all of you feel an urgency to prepare and get ready for what's coming. And I think you all have a good idea of what's coming.
It's interesting. I actually had a conversation yesterday with a good friend, and her kids, she's in her mid-60s. Her kids all think she's crazy because she's prepared, and they're just like, "You're going to be taken care of. You don't have to worry about this.
You're going to be taken care of."
And it's interesting because they think that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is going to take care of them, and I'm like, really? When in history has any church been completely responsible for their parishioners?
It's the members that take care of the church.
Yeah.
It's the other way around.
And it's like, hello, McFly, hello, anybody in there? Like, seriously, people, be responsible for yourself.
Yeah, that's a conversation that you and I and our buddy John have all the time is and not to get completely off topic today, but the church is there for us, yes, absolutely, and they're there to help out. They're fantastic. They have great programs for helping the needy and the poor and the refugees, but if anything, the church teaches anything, is to be self-reliant, is to be responsible for yourself and for those around you too, as well. So, great topic. We can make this into a whole show, but like we were saying earlier, Scott, I love the change of temperature, change of weather. It pricks your mind as to, for us that are hyper-aware, as to what we need to prepare for in the coming weeks and the coming months. And just like with anything, you need to be prepared before it happens.
Right. The old adage is if you're not prepared, or if you are prepared, you shall not fear.
Exactly.
Right. But if you are not prepared, you're screwed.
Yeah.
Right.
And
you'll be
it's
afraid. You'll be
exactly. And same thing with having. Do you have a firearm or do you have a parachute? You only need that parachute if you're falling out of a plane. You really need that parachute. If you don't have your firearm with you when you need it, it's like not having your parachute. So you need to be always prepared. And that's kind of statement I live by all the time is always prepared, always prepared. Kind of redundant, kind of stupid, but and so we're talking about our first topic we wanted to talk about is like your 72-hour kit, or in Scott's case, his 96-hour kit. I don't think it matters, if it's 144 hours or whatever.
Right.
But it's your bug out bag, your to-go kit, your jump kit, whatever you want to call it. And Scott and I have this habit of, okay, here comes conference time. We get a time to shut your brain off and to sit and relax. And let's go through the supplies. Let's go through the storage room. Let's go through the 72-hour kit. Let's go through all the preps and do an inventory, start to organize, and do this twice a year. For me, it's a great practice because there are a lot of times I'm going through my supplies and I realize, okay, where is this item? Where did I put that?
Yep.
I'm so terribly organized, I forget where everything's at. And so this helps me refresh. Oh yeah, I forgot I had that, or I realize I need to replenish this, or I need to get a few more of this or a few more of that. So that is my practice. I know this is your practice as well this time of year as well, Scott.
So for me, my wife is so ridiculously organized that I don't really worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
Let me qualify that. I don't worry about inventorying twice a year. Because what we do is we'll go through, and she's itemized everything we have, and she's got them stored in bins and buckets and all the different things.
On a spreadsheet, and
we've got a spreadsheet, and we've got a print off of the spreadsheet, and we've got a print off for each bucket, specifically what's in that bucket.
Mm-hmm.
The next thing I want to do is actually put a little sheet
Mm-hmm.
on each bucket.
Yeah.
So that you're not just having to go back to the binder and go, okay, box 33, what's in box 33?
Mm-hmm.
I want to be able to, as I'm going through it, scan, oh yeah, that's in this bucket, or that's in that bin, or that's there. So the things that I don't use as much, I'm still familiar, can quickly find it when needed.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also, there's pros and cons to that. The cons are that because you got it stored in somewhere, you forget about it.
Mm-hmm.
So exactly. I think it's really important for people to get it out, check it.
And that can be comforting as well, to be able to forget about your preps, is to have that level of comfort to where you're not terribly concerned. Like you and I are I guess you could say hyper aware, but to have that level of preparation is a huge comfort. You have the little cash tucked away. You've got your wheat grinder. It works because you're using it every couple of months or couple of weeks. And maybe even change your lifestyle so that you're constantly using that wheat and rotating it. That's fantastic. I mean, that's something I'm still working on.
Yeah.
Is using those long-term stores on a regular basis.
And I think you'd call me more of a tech prepper.
Okay.
Which is sad because I need to go back and rework some of my things. I don't can as much as I used to. I'd rather get freeze.
We're busy. Oh yeah.
Or canned foods that's already taken care of for me. Maybe you could call me the lazy prepper, right? And I think everybody has kind of their thing. I look for the simplest way to get things done, the things that are going to use the least amount of energy.
Absolutely.
To try to get things done. But I'm like really chomping at the bit to do a garden. I feel horrible
absolutely.
that I didn't do a garden this year.
Me too. And I did, and I've got a few things growing, but it's definitely been neglected. We're busy, and that's our lifestyle. We've put that curse upon us to stay busy.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is absolutely on top of my list, and I say that every year. I'm going to till up half the backyard, and the wife says, no, the kids need the grass. No, they'll have more fun in the garden, I guarantee you. They will have more fun playing on the garden and helping, pick the raspberries and
finding the bugs and doing like I remember as a kid,
in the garden,
climbing through the garden with my dad. Look, Dad, grasshopper. He's like, get them, and I'm like, okay. So I caught all the grasshoppers. And what do? Put them in a cage. Then what do? We took them fishing. They became bait, and it worked great.
Yep.
But there's so much you can learn, and you can teach a kid gardening.
Yeah, they don't need just grass to play on.
Is patience. We have a new generation coming up that these kids lack patience.
Mm-hmm.
The millennial generation, and if you guys have an opinion, please chime in. The millennial generation, love them and hate them, they are the most impatient.
Well, it's our technology that's done that to us. We have instant gratification.
I don't think it's the technology. I think it's the fault of the generation before.
The parents.
It's because we have a mindset. There's been a mindset change. It used to be that parents wanted to give their kids, everything they didn't have. Right now, now parents can't give them everything they didn't have. They just want them to have everything they can get them. But the generation before us, I want to give my kids everything I didn't have. My thought is my dad,
which is kind of stupid if you think about it.
Couldn't give me a whole lot, but he gave me a ton of knowledge, and that's worth way more to me than anything else.
Yeah, and I look back as well, and there are a lot of kids I know, a lot of things I know I bugged my dad about. I want this, I want to get this, and it wasn't that easy. He didn't just step up and buy it for me. Okay, yeah, you want this? Sure, here you go. No, I either had to earn it or it had to come at an opportune time. He didn't just spoil me with everything, which, I would like to say helped me because now I know I have to go out and earn it for myself.
Yeah.
And I don't feel at all entitled to anything.
Absolutely. Let's take this caller before a break.
Cool. Yeah, we got a few seconds.
Hey, thanks for calling K-Talk. We got a few minutes before the break, or 30 seconds, but chime in.
Okay, so we're live now?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, hi, this is Falcon, and I have a question about gardening. I have a problem that I haven't solved.
Okay.
I'll probably have to finish it on the other side,
yes,
but that'll be fine.
Probably so.
This has to do, I'll just give you the premise. This has to do with me starting a bucket garden that was fabulous, and then the years that followed it declined to just instant death within a week. And I want to try to see if you or somebody in the audience can maybe give me some insight into what may have happened.
Perfect. Well, let's start that up after the break. We're cutting into it right now.
Okay.
Just a reminder, this show is brought to you by Survival Medical. Survival Medical is the toughest, longest-lasting survival medical kit you can find. First aid simplified. Put it in your kit. Forget about it until you need it, and it's there, and it's always going to work when you need it.
Broadcasting live from the...
And welcome back to Prepper Talk Radio on K-Talk. I just zoomed the volume back up on that. Sorry about that. K-Talk Radio, K-Talk Media. Check out the new website, ktalkmedia.com. Tons of updates. It's going to be periodically updated with more content, more exclusive content, video.
Yes, and we at PrepperCon, Prepper Talk, are going to be making some fun videos, and which will be uploaded to our site as well as to your K-Talk Media. So keep an eye out for those. So I'm really excited about it.
Absolutely. And as a reminder, this show is sponsored by our good friends over at Survival Medical. Survival Medical has a first aid kit for everybody's needs. I don't care what your goals are, what your plans are, what you're trying to do. They've got a kit that's got you covered.
I am headed over to Sam's Club right after this.
Oh, fantastic. So Sam's Club right now in Salt Lake has their kits, has most of the line. It's actually more affordable to buy it there than it is to buy it on their website, which is always going to be the case. So get over to Sam's Club on 300 West in Salt Lake. Get your medical gear. Get it in your house. Get it in your car. Get it in your backpack. Get yourself prepared.
Good stuff.
We had a great question posed before. Falcon was talking about the garden.
His bucket garden.
His bucket garden and how to get better use out of that, I guess.
Yeah.
So we got a couple callers. Let's take the first caller here. Hey, thanks for calling K-Talk. You're on the air. What are your comments?
Ooh, I was hoping that guy would go on first, though. But I've gardened in the same area for 26 years. I've got a half-acre garden up in Farmington. And I was going to tell him what he needs to do.
Oh, perfect.
Because I've got a green. Actually, my whole body's green. I've grown stuff my whole life. But what he's got to do is look at his soil or his buckets as a bank. Whatever he takes out, he's got to put back in. He's got to learn how to compost them. Anything that he takes out, like the trimmings from his beets or the vines every fall, he needs to compost those and put those back into the soil. Because they're drawing out, the minerals during the summer. But there's one key mineral that I was even missing this year after all my farming and organic gardening that I had never been using. And when I used it this year, everything took off again.
What was that?
Magnesium sulfate, which is Epsom salt.
Oh, okay, yeah, absolutely.
You got to liken. It's like a vehicle. It's like the car. The Epsom salts are the vehicle, but the calcium and all the other minerals jump in to go up into the plant to create photosynthesis.
I was actually reading about that just the other day. I've got a bag of Epsom salts sitting on the back of our toilet.
Yeah,
and I was like, we could use this for fertilizer? I didn't know that. It's kind of great prep, great prepping item. Yeah.
But I'd tell him just to keep anytime you plant it, and then I'll get out of your hair. But anytime you plant a tomato or a pepper in the first part of the season, when you dig the hole, take a tablespoon of Epsom salt and a tablespoon of broken up calcium from eggshells or from oyster shell that you can buy relatively cheap, $10 for a 50-pound bag. Crush that up, put that into the ground, and then plant your tomato or pepper or whatever, and you'd be surprised how green and how much food you'll get the whole year just off of
Awesome.
that.
Great tip. What about drainage in a bucket? I mean, does that you obviously have to have some drainage?
Got to make sure that that there's some holes in it and that he's getting some drainage. It depends on what you're growing. Peppers, tomatoes, they need to have a drain. Potatoes will rot in it. To be honest with you, I haven't done much bucket gardening other than herbs.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I guess there's people that don't have the space to do anything but a container. It's called container gardening.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you've got to make sure that you can actually buy a Home Depot or Lowe's. They have the moisture control.
Moisture control soil.
And that's what I use when I do my herbs.
Oh, wow. Well, awesome.
I'm the guru up here. I do a newsletter, and I do. My big concern is you got a low profile when you have a half-acre garden.
Yeah, when you've got a small garden, you can keep it a little bit more protected.
And everybody knows where to come to get food, so they give a lot of food. And that kind of worries me a little bit too.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, hey, thank you so much for your call. We appreciate you. We've got a bunch of other callers lined up, so we'll jump off.
Bye.
All right, you are live on K-Talk. You've got some gardening comments as well.
Oh, yeah. I've actually got 2 half-acre gardens, but one of them is mostly water-wise flowers and shrubs. I've got a few fruit trees there that I planted. and I've done it from scratch. The second one, starting 2001. It was before that. It was just sagebrush, never being tilled or anything. But it amuses me when people say they're so busy today. I have never seen so much waste of time as people waste today.
Amen.
These stupid cell phones and Facebook and all this other garbage. I mean, I don't have time for that. And there have been several weeks where I've worked 60 hours a week. This is not unusual, including last week. And as I said, I'm 74. And I would store supplements. I don't take drugs of any kind. But the main point was what the previous caller said. The main point is to build up your soil. That's way more important.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you don't think you have time to grow vegetables, that's secondary. Start building up your soil. Put everything organic you can on it. And you can do sheet composting. You don't have to go and build a compost pile. Just gather up leaves. And if they tend to blow away, which mine do, I get manure from the neighbor next door, and I cover them so they don't blow away.
Now, Wendy, is it a good time to do that right now in the fall, or is it best to do that in the spring to build up your soil?
Oh, do it in the fall, because the snow actually is your friend, and kind of starts working on them. That's why
insulates it and allows it to
break down. And you notice in the summer you put all this stuff on your soil, and the sun has broken it down big time.
That's true.
It's time to do it all over again. But that's the most important thing, is to build up your soil. And I don't go for these novelty things like garden in the bucket or whatever. You've got to get serious, get a piece of land and start developing it, get rid of the weeds. And some people use the excuse like, I'm lucky to have a source of manure right next door, and I go back and forth with my 4 or 5 gallon buckets on a little cart. But my other next door neighbor said, "Oh, I wouldn't use manure because it'd bring in all these weeds." I don't have any weeds because it's composted. I get the oldest, and to me that's just an excuse not to do the hard work.
Wendy, you are very right on all different fronts. I need a piece of property myself, and we're actually going to have Buna on sometime in the next couple of weeks, who is a gardening expert. We're not experts when it comes to gardening. We're definitely learning, but Buna is amazing. So we're going to have her on in the next couple of weeks.
Build up your soil.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Yeah, absolutely. That takes a long time.
Right.
Thank you, Wendy. Appreciate the call.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Got some more other calls here.
All right, you are live with K-Talk. Thanks for joining the conversation.
Are you there?
Yeah, yes. Hey, the caller before Wendy, his voice was muffled. What did he say besides the Epsom salts to mix with it?
Calcium.
Oh,
like eggshells or like
broken oyster.
Oyster shells, yeah. And so one thing I do, I actually will sometimes I'll save my eggshells, wash them out and crush them up.
And just hold on to those to throw in with them.
Exactly.
I've always thrown the eggshell out, but is there a place that you can buy that, like IFA or something like that?
Probably.
IFA actually does have the crushed oysters, so you can get that there. I think Cal Ranch Stores also has it. I want to say they do, but I'm not 100% sure.
If IFA doesn't have it, they can probably get it for you.
They can.
So Epsom salts, crushed, and then the magnesium he said too. That's in the Epsom salts.
Yep.
Yes, correct.
All right. Even if you're using cow manure, you should still add the other stuff.
I'm not 100% on that. I know you can get your soil too hot.
Yeah.
So definitely jump online, do some research. That's some questions we can save for Buna when she comes on the next couple of weeks, is how to prepare your soil for the fall when you're going into winter, so that it can be ready for it in the spring. So those are some great questions.
As well as one of the ideas we're going to be talking about in the next few weeks is we're going to talk about making a greenhouse for the winter.
Oh, cool.
So that's one of the projects I've got on my plate. I want to try to get a greenhouse going. So this is great for me because it's helping me with my soil problems.
Yeah.
I've noticed after 30 years of gardening that the previous farmers used to try to get their manure out in the fall before winter, so it could leach into the ground through the winter better than springtime. But I've always noticed that no matter what time, whatever you plant, if things one year really produce and then the next year something else really produces, and I've never been able to figure out why.
Well, if you do figure it out, please put a book together and let us know.
That's incredible.
Yeah, thanks for the call.
Thank you
Appreciate
so much.
It. All right, got another caller here holding. Caller, are you there?
Okay, so this is the source of all the
I really appreciate everyone calling in.
Oh, Falcon, welcome back.
Yes.
Thank you. So I was in northern Utah, and I was transitioning from one house to another, and it was that market time, and I decided to be a renter for a short time. And I didn't want to dig up the backyard or do any damage to the property for a garden. So I created this bucket garden, and I used 9 buckets, and I plumbed in the watering system and put it all on a timer. I didn't have to do anything after that. It took me about 2 hours to put it together. I bought soil from the store. I used a thing called, I think, 6-in-1 or something like that, and I used the Epsom salt. And I put all this together, and it was so maintenance-free that all I did through the entire season was take macro photography of the ecosystem, the little bugs, the six-eyed spiders, and everything. I had a great time. It was a wonderful season, and it was fabulous. It became a cornucopia. It grew so massively. I had so many vegetables coming out of this garden. I thought that I had discovered this wonderful key to simple gardening. Then I bought another house, and I relocated to southern Utah. I took my buckets, but I left the soil, and I bought new soil, and I repeated this process. And that season, I had trouble with the tomatoes. They were rusty, and the tomatoes were distorted, and they looked psychedelic. They were just very weird-looking tomatoes. I was actually afraid to eat them. They looked so weird, but they still tasted like tomatoes. So I did eat some of them just to see. But then the following year, I used the same soil, and I planted again, and everything died within. I mean, everything just went. The plants got dark and black and just died within like 3 days.
Wow.
And I don't know what happened. I did everything the same the second year and the third year.
And I think that's one thing we need to realize is that gardening takes time to learn how to do this. So you need to get started now. Start now to be ready for spring. So as part of our fall preparedness theme today, work on your garden, and we're going to have Buna on and to talk specifically about fall gardening,
things to prep for next year.
Yeah,
I think one of the things that you brought up though is your soil. It sounds to me like it was nutrient deficient.
And I was using Epsom salt, and I was using the 6-in-1 fertilizer.
Always keep in mind that you can take samples of your soil to the local extension office, what they call it. And of course, you listen to KSL, the Greenhouse Show is always very informative on the weekends. But you've got your Utah State Agricultural Center up in Logan, which is really top notch for the entire country. So we've got some really great professionals when it comes to soil and gardening and so forth. So lots of great resources.
As well as down in Dixieland down there in St. George.
That's true.
And there's SUU in Cedar City that has
their
pretty decent extension office for USU. So you can get those resources locally.
And most of the time there's no cost to it.
Yeah.
So or a very small fee.
They can test your soil for you.
All right. So next week you'll have a gardening expert?
So probably 2 weeks. Not next week. It'll be in 2 weeks. I'm waiting for her to confirm back, but she's a gardening expert. Her focus is edible landscapes. It's pretty amazing.
We've had her on before. She's been at PrepperCon as well. And I'm trying to remember her. Garden Inspire is her website. Garden Inspire. And I think she has another website or two, but she has some amazing books, wild edible plants books. She's a wealth of knowledge, and so check her out. Check her website out.
We're looking forward to that show.
Yeah, she's so much fun to have on. We tried to have her on a few weeks ago, and just timing didn't work out, so we're scheduling her for as soon as we can. I think it's going to be in 2 weeks, but she'll let me know today. But the key is find people like this locally.
You don't have to
know your climate, and let them be your local experts, and that's where we love the extension offices.
And you don't have to be a professional in everything. That's what we have resources for. Sorry, go ahead.
I'd like to solve this problem because the first year was incredible, and then the third year it was like as if someone had poisoned the entire garden. It was so drastically contrasted from the first year to the third year that I really need to find out what happened.
Here's another resource you might reach out to is vertical gardening. What is the name of the company? There's the
Tower Garden Project. There's Kangaponics. If you Google any of these, like Tower Garden Project, Kangaponics, there's
Intermountain Vertical Gardens.
Yeah,
Or they changed their name.
IMV. So Intermountain Vertical Gardens, I think it's .com. Danny Matthews, he's a wealth of knowledge as well. He now has a giant greenhouse in, I think, Centerville, somewhere around here, not too far away. But there's a lot of neat resources online for local gardening to help you understand your local soil better and your local climate issues. My first garden in Utah was a horrible experience for me.
A learning experience.
I'd come from Colorado, which it wasn't a very different climate, but the soil was different. And so I didn't have to bring in soil to that garden, whereas here I had to bring in soil for my garden because it just was nutrient lacking. So find out local resources near you. I mean, always check with the Utah State University Extension first, because they know all those local resources.
Absolutely, have all the information.
They can tell you what's wrong with the soil. They can tell you what you can do to tweak and actually get your garden growing again, whether it's in buckets, whether it's in the soil. Then in 2 weeks, hopefully, we'll have Buna on, and she's just fantastic.
Yep.
If I find anything out specific and definitive, I'll let you guys know, so everybody can find out what happened to
Please
me.
do.
Yeah, share it on our Facebook page. You can find us on Facebook, Prepper Talk Radio. That's kind of our central hub. We're also on Prepped app, which is fun. And
Twitter and
fun stuff, and Instagram. So join us on social media and then join K-Talk. You can hop on the K-Talk media pages and communicate to us as well.
Okay, thank you, everybody in the audience, too, for the input.
Yeah, good stuff.
Thanks, Falcon.
Yeah, thanks for your call. Appreciate it.
It's funny. Today we were talking primarily about some other stuff, but gardening became the hot point. And that's one of the things I want to point out is we're open to whatever comes down the pipe. That's what we want to do. We're here as a resource for you guys. We're heading into a break, so remember, go check out Survival Medical today if you can. Get out there today. It's Salt Lake at the Sam's Club on 300 West. They've got an amazing sale, all the best medical products you can get for your first aid kits.
The all-new K-Talk Media, a clear voice.
Well, welcome back to Prepper Talk Radio on K-Talk. Check out our website, ktalkmedia.com. Lots of cool updates, continually bringing out some new content for you. Today's show is brought to you by Survival Medical. Survival Medical has the first aid kit you need. It's tougher than nature, probably tougher than you. They've got bleeder kits, so for any type of bleeding issue that you may have, whether it's a gunshot, a knife wound, or maybe a chainsaw goes awry while you're getting your trees, all the way down to splinter removal. Everything.
I've got 4 daughters. I'm gonna have to get some birthing buckets, stick in the, because they're still young, obviously, but they're good for 20+ years. So I'm just gonna stick them.
Yeah.
With the food storage and
call it good.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they've also got, they've got your ultralight backpackers, which is perfect if you've got a Boy Scout and you're trying to think what can you get them. Get them the ultralight. It's amazing for $15. And it's probably even cheaper at Sam's Club. Yeah. It's a bargain. It's what I carry for scouting. I love it. Check them out, survival-medical.com, or get to Sam's Club in Salt Lake City on 300 West. And it's 1900-ish.
Yeah, right near the Home Depot.
Near the ballpark. Yeah, near Home Depot.
Between the ballpark and Home Depot.
Yep.
And only for a few more days, I understand, right?
Yep. So get down there before the weekend.
Check them out.
We're talking about fall prep. We kind of spent a segment on gardening. This segment we're going to focus on kind of your car, your kit, and your home. Things you need to make sure you're taking a look at right now, because the seasons are changing, and as the seasons are changing, this is the time before the season's changed that you need to get yourself ready.
Changes. And I love jacket weather. I love it when it starts to become brisk. And so that's the first thing that comes to my mind is, okay, how am I going to stay warm in winter? Especially here in Utah, man, we have some pretty brutal winter. Sometimes it's nice and mild, and it's easy to get along. But sometimes we have some brutal cold winters.
Well,
so how are you going to stay warm?
So quickly that you need to understand how to layer. Understanding layering, making sure you've got a good jacket that also is waterproof, or a shell that's waterproof that you can put on top of your jacket, or a coat, jacket, shell.
I live for layers. It's not only stylish, it's functional, right? So you start with the base layer. It's got to be polypropylene. It's got to be synthetic, so it wicks away the moisture. And this is stuff I would put in my car. I won't necessarily dress this way every single day, because Scott and I we're realtors, we're businessmen, we're out having meetings, so we're not going to be wearing our winter gear all the time. So we prepare a special bag with all our winter gear, just in case we get stuck in the snow, or the vehicle breaks down, or there's some kind of emergency where we're going to be stuck in the cold.
Yeah. and you just toss it in the back of the car.
Yeah.
Car, truck, whatever you're driving, just toss the extra little bag, and it's small. I have my 96-hour kit for 2, and that's big. But then I have a smaller kit, which is kind of my go bag or my get home bag. That's what's the seasonal changes. That's where that happens, because that has that change of clothes.
So pretty much everything stays the same in the 72, 96-hour kit, and then your go bag you rotate. So my go bag's that way too. Those are the things I use almost on a daily, weekly basis.
On a weekly basis, I'm using.
They're not just sitting there stagnant, or I'm using those things.
Yeah, and it's redundant as well. So I've got some things in there that are duplicates of what's in my big bag.
Right.
But my big bag is, if we get stranded somewhere, that's the salvation bag, right? That's what's going to keep me going until we get to a place where we can have help.
And the big concern, obviously, in winter is staying warm. So we're talking about layers. Having a base layer. I like to have what I call a warm layer or a mid layer. So kind of a bulkier fleece, but still a synthetic of some. I mean, it could be cotton. And there's cotton when it gets wet is horrible, but if you stay dry, it's very good insulating.
So like your flannels are great.
So if you have a shell to cover that up with and stay dry, cotton's fine, but if you can avoid it, have some kind of a polyester blend of some sort that will wick moisture.
And wool.
Or wool, absolutely. Wool is fantastic.
Most incredible products out there.
Fantastic.
When sheep decided to grow wool, they were geniuses. And they've been doing it ever since.
Hey, those sheep, they look awfully warm here in the winter. Maybe I should cut that fur off of them and or hair, whatever you call it, and make something out for myself. I mean, that's a true prepper right there.
Yeah. So whoever figured that out, thank you.
And whoever figured out how to make wool not itchy, thank you. The merino wool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Other than that, I can't wear wool without
wool's
a nice comfy base layer.
Without layers, but it's phenomenal when you use it right. I mean, I always put in the fall. I put a wool blanket or 2 in the car.
Even this summer, I have wool blankets in the car.
So I don't in the summer, just because I've got my Mylar. And I don't think I need it. I put extra stuff in the car.
See, I have the wool blanket in there because I have the winch on the front, and if I'm pulling myself out or somebody else, I'll drape that wool blanket over there to keep, in case something comes loose, it doesn't snap back. So I also use it as a ground tarp if I need to lay on it for a picnic or for working under the vehicle or something like that. So I love having a nice, thick, durable wool blanket in my car at all times.
Nice.
And if you're in the car, and you got to stay warm, you can wrap that around you.
Wrap it up.
It's great to have a sleeping bag in your car, especially in cold weather. So you keep your heat in. You don't have to worry about wrapping a blanket around you. Another great item to keep in your vehicle.
One of the things that I thought was kind of interesting, our friend Spencer over at Everyman Preparedness?
Yeah, Everyman.
Everyman Preparedness. He runs a blog, and it's more of a video blog. He did an overnight stay in his car in the winter, and he just taped up some Mylar bags. Not bags, Mylar blankets to the windows, to the roof of the car, and he stayed pretty toasty.
I know he's a little uncomfortable, but
but he lived.
Yeah.
And I look at it and I go, okay, that's a good idea. How many of us actually have 4 Mylar blankets and a Mylar, mummy bag? Probably not very many of us. But I have 3 and 2 bags, so I've got the makings of it. I've got something to start it, but then I've got the wool blankets.
Yeah, and those space blanket bags sleeping bags are really great because they keep your heat in. And like a blanket, obviously you can lose that heat, but that's the key, is keeping that heat in.
Keep that heat in. The problem is, though, is it also keeps all that moisture in. And if you get moisture, and then all of a sudden a cold snap hits, you're going to freeze, or you're going to overheat, and then you got to uncover, and then all that moisture gets cold. And so you got to be smart. I actually just went camping a few weeks ago, and it got around 39 degrees at night.
This is already. Yep.
I was like,
it's one of the colors. The leaves are changing. That's why.
And I've got a 4-season sleeping bag, but it's a 3-stage bag. So I've got an inner bag, an outer bag, and then a intermediate bag that goes in between. And so I can go -40 in that bag.
And that's way too much for me.
And I threw it all together and went on the camping trip, and it's awesome because it fits in a stuff sack. But that thing kept me so toasty. I was in 2 layers of the 3 layers, and at -39 degrees, I was happy as can be. I was like, wow, I wish I had this when I was Boy Scout, because I remember winter Klondikes where I was just freezing.
Yeah, and here's something I want to point out. With sleeping bags, when they give you a temperature rating, they may call it only a comfort rating, or they may call it a minimum rating. It may not be a comfort rating. Let me step back.
Yeah.
So say I have a 30-degree bag, and it may, at 30 degrees, you may feel chilly in that bag. It may not be its actual comfort rating. So at 45 degrees, you may be comfortable. At 30, you may feel a little uncomfortable, a little chilly. So keep that in mind when you're buying a bag, or when you're, the bag you have. See if you can find some information. And some bags are labeled with a comfort rating, and some just have a single temperature rating on there, which is probably not a comfort rating. It's probably more of a minimum rating. You can sleep in this when it's 30 degrees, but your toes are going to be cold and you're going to be chilly. So keep that in mind.
Absolutely. Other things I think that are unparalleledly important. Hand and toe warmers. Yeah. We buy a new bag every year because they don't last very long. Mm-hmm. I mean, honestly, they kind of suck. But they're great to have. Mm-hmm. And you can usually get about 2 years out of them. Here's the funny thing. A lot of people will buy them in the spring and think, man, I'm getting such a deal. I'm buying these. Mm-hmm. There might be a year old already. Mm-hmm. So look at the expiration dates when you're buying them. I always look at them, double check when I'm buying them, especially on sale. I'm like, But I usually find them when you're buying them on sale, they're usually over a year old already, and they've got 6 more months worth of life.
Yeah, good point.
So watch out for that. But I think that's one of the ones that, we need to look at fuels and things to keep you warm, things to keep your home going during the winter.
So being outdoors, being in your vehicle, make sure, and this is something we push all year round, keep your tank full. And if your tank is a half full, it's empty.
Absolutely.
That's my take on it. So I rarely ever let it get below half full, whether it's an emergency or whether it's summer or winter. If you can run your vehicle in winter and keep the heater on, you can literally idle on full tank for hundreds of hours to keep your heater going.
Yep.
So
it's
something very easy you can do.
I'm actually in the process of buying another vehicle, and so I'll be selling. So the PrepperCon truck that you guys see around town, I'm actually selling that. It's a love-hate relationship that I'm selling it, because I love and hate that truck, because I tow now with one of the jobs that I do. I tow now these 10 to 12,000 pound trailers. Plus I have my Hurricane simulator that weighs about 9,500 pounds. I need a diesel, to really make pulling that make sense. And my poor F-150, as tough as he is, as gorgeous as he is inside and out, full leather, DVD, all that fun stuff, is not designed for that. And so I'm super stoked, because with getting a diesel, I can store diesel a lot longer.
That's true. Diesel does store a lot longer, although it is more susceptible to the cold temperatures.
Yes. But it stores for a long, long time.
But keep in mind that for gas, I keep gas in my shed because I have gas vehicles, and I rotate that once a year. Okay. And I use a stabilizer. For diesel, you also have to use an antibacterial.
Yes. But here's the cool thing. When the grid goes down, where are you going to get your gasoline?
Good point. It's going to be gone.
I can create
biodiesel.
And that's why I'm doing my greenhouse now, is I want to create a biodiesel system. And with algae and other stuff that I can grow, bada bing, baby.
Yeah. And you can always, find used oil. You use cooking oil and so forth, and use motor oil and refine that and whatever. And you've got to learn how to do that. Obviously,
I've got a lot of learning to do.
I'm just not going there right now. I've got too many things on my plate. I'm staying away from diesel right now. I'm going to get horses. That's what I'm going to do.
There you go. On your 0.17 acres.
on my 0.25
there
acres.
You go. Your quarter acre. We got a caller. Let's bring the caller online. Hey, thanks for calling Prepper Talk Radio. You're on the air.
Okay, you guys hit a subject that I love, and that's fuel and fuel stabilizers.
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, I've got access to one that was invented and developed by General Electric, one of the chemists back in the 70s. It can keep fuel stable for 20 years.
What?
And on the diesel, it actually, you don't need to worry about the antibacterial aspect on it. The neat thing about it,
Really?
Tell us.
Okay. Well, it is an organometallic. It slows down the burn rate on the fuel. It also
organometallic. Organometallic? Organic metallics?
Yeah, what it does is it robs an ion off of metal. I don't know which metal. But, it stabilizes the fuel. It is incredible stuff. A lot of people don't think it's really expensive because it's like $85 for 4 ounces of it.
Oh, wow.
But what they don't understand is that you use 1/4 of an ounce to treat 20 gallons of fuel.
Tell us the name. What's this stuff called?
It's called DG78. You can't get it in stores.
DB78.
Yep. And the neat thing about it is like diesels get about 5% fuel increase on efficiency with lower engine operating temperatures. And the reason for that is because that organometallic in there is that it slows the burn rate down. And so you get a more clean, even burn throughout the cylinder. Most people don't realize that when it fires in the cylinder, the problem is that not all the fuel's burned, and it doesn't explode and burn evenly. Well, because the burn rate slowed down, it actually is able to burn, instead of 99.3% of the fuel, it's burning 99.7, 99.8, 99.9% of the fuel.
Cool.
You have less emissions.
Better gas mileage.
Okay, now you said you can't get this in the stores. Where do you get this?
Well, if you want to get it from me, that's fine. I mean, this is Jason.
Oh,
you guys know me.
Okay, we will have to put a link on our
public,
website.
Though? Like, do you sell
they're working on that. The problem is that it's easier for them to sell to industry, mostly because it takes so much money on the profit margin to get bulk amounts of the smaller bottles to bottle it with. So there's some logistic problems. So right now they're just sticking with industry on that. But yeah, if you guys want to talk to me about that later, that's fine.
Yeah, I think what we should do is we should probably put a link on our Facebook page or something and to get to that.
Right.
So.
And I'm hesitant to say much about that because I haven't paid for advertising or anything like that. But I just wanted to mention there are a couple of really incredible products out there that can stabilize fuel for extremely long periods. And the reason why GE wanted it developed was because they were sick and tired of dealing with hazmat BS and refreshing the fuel out for their backup generators every 3 months.
Right. Yeah. Now also keep in mind there are other fuels out there that don't need stabilizing, like kerosene. Propane has a virtually indefinite shelf life. You can convert your vehicles to run on propane and
well, I disagree with you on kerosene. Kerosene will actually go bad on you.
Okay.
It's just a small
variation. But it has a very long shelf life.
But it does have a longer shelf life than diesel, but it is in the diesel category because it is a gasoline with
oil you're correct,
in it.
Yes.
So. Oh, we are running out of time. Dang it. Jason, thanks so much for your call. We're running out of the end of the show here. We thank you, everyone, for calling in. You actually made this a phenomenal show, and that's what makes this show so great is your input. Thank you for joining us. Get ready for fall. It's coming faster than you can think. Get out to Sam's Club this weekend and get your Survival Medical, the only first aid kit that's tougher than nature. And I've actually seen it survive the Snake River.
See y'all next week.